How does America resemble the wicked city of Nineveh in Jonah's day? Occupying till he comes at Southwest Prophecy Ministries. Welcome, friends. This is David Schnitker with another Last Days Beacon podcast. Thanks for joining us. One of the most amazing true stories in the Old Testament has to do with the prophet Jonah's evangelistic ministry in the Assyrian city of Nineveh. During the reign of Jeroboam II, the king of Israel, from 793 to 753 BC, Jonah was commissioned by God to go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry against it, for their wickedness has come up before me. Jonah chapter 1 and verse 2. After rebelling, fleeing, and reconsidering God's commission, while ensconced in the belly of a great fish, Jonah reluctantly decided that he should obey the Lord. As a result of Jonah's preaching, the people of Nineveh repented, and the city was spared God's judgment for over 100 years, until a moral relapse caused the city to be destroyed in 612 BC. Is it possible that this historical example is being repeated in America at the present time? Could the United States be receiving a similar reprieve from the Lord? Could Donald Trump's miraculous election in 2016 represent a Nineveh moment for America? Could the present time in America's history be a period when the Lord has restrained His judgment in order to leave space for repentance and restoration? On today's program, we are going to look in more detail at the Nineveh narrative and compare America's sins to the sins of Nineveh. First, let's consider Jonah's message. He entered Nineveh and warned, "Yet 40 days, and Nineveh shall be overthrown." Jonah 3, verse 4. Then an amazing thing happened, as recorded in Jonah chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. So the people of Nineveh believed God and proclaimed a fast, and put on sackcloth, from the greatest of them even to the least of them. For word came unto the king of Nineveh, and he arose from his throne, and he laid his robe from him, and covered him with sackcloth, and sat in ashes. In response to their repentance, the most astounding thing of all happened. And God saw their works, that they turned from their evil way. And God repented of the evil that He had said that He would do unto them, and He did it not. Jonah 3 and verse 10. This is a phenomenal turn of events, my friends. Nineveh was an extremely wicked city, full of immorality, idolatry, and violence. It was the greatest of the Assyrian cities, founded by Nimrod himself. It was untouched by Judaism. If any city was worthy of annihilation by God, it was Nineveh. Then, for some inexplicable reason, God sent Jonah with a message of warning. Perhaps because his skin was bleached as a result of his visit to the whale's belly, giving him the appearance of an angel, Jonah garnered immediate attention when he traversed the great city. Whatever the case, God used the reluctant prophet to effect repentance, and the city was spared from God's judgment for over 100 years. It was not destroyed until 612 BC, long after the Assyrian Empire swallowed up Israel in 722 BC. Is it possible that this historical example is being repeated in America? Could America be receiving a similar reprieve from the Lord? Could Donald Trump's election be a Nineveh moment, a period of time when the judgment of God is delayed in order to leave space for repentance? If any nation has given cause for the judgment of God in recent years, it is America. I want to survey the moral boundaries that America has crossed over the past 50 years or so that has placed it in the danger zone for the judgment of God. First of all, we have in 1962 In Engel versus Vitale, the removal of prayer in public schools by the Supreme Court. In 1963, the Supreme Court ruled in Abington School District versus Shemp the removal of Bible reading in public schools. In 1973, the infamous Roe v. Wade decision that legalized abortions by the Supreme Court. Since then, Americans have performed over 60 million abortions, and presently, about 1 million abortions are occurring per year in America. In 1980, in Stone versus Graham, in this case, the Supreme Court ruled that a Kentucky statute was unconstitutional. The statute in question required the posting of a copy of the Ten Commandments on the wall of each public classroom in the state. The court ruled that because they were being placed in public classrooms, they were in violation of the First Amendment. Then in 2003, in Lawrence versus Texas, this landmark decision by the United States Supreme Court struck down the sodomy law in Texas, which by extension invalidated sodomy laws in 13 other states. Then in 2013, in the United States versus Windsor, the case in which the Supreme Court struck down the Defense of Marriage Act, commonly known as DOMA. DOMA stated that one man should be married to one woman. DOMA was biblically supported according to Genesis 2, verse 24, which reads, "Therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." Then in 2015, in the Obergefell versus Hodges decision, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of same-sex marriages, which is unbiblical according to Romans 1:27 and elsewhere. For these reasons, America, like Nineveh, has become a very wicked place, deserving of the judgment of God. Friends, we're going to take a brief time out now to hear from Jingos, our sponsor for today's podcast. We have been producing weekly video podcasts for almost 4 years now, thanks to your generous support. While that support is still vital, the Lord has provided a commercial sponsor to pick up some of those costs. Our new sponsor is Jingos. Jingos is an ultra stain remover and odor eliminator. It attacks organic stains and odors. It is environmentally and user-friendly. One satisfied customer writes, "Jingos works great. I highly suggest picking up this item over anything else you find in the store. It uses natural enzymes versus the harsh chemicals contained in products such as Resolve. I used it on where my dog urinated on the carpet, and you cannot even tell she went. Nice, fresh scent, and just smells like a clean carpet. Nothing chemically and no ammonia smell." That's Aaron from Texas. Thank you, Aaron. Stay tuned, please, for more details.
By Jingos, it's amazingly fresh and clean out here in beautiful New Zealand. G'day America, I'm Tarby, and I want to tell you about my new ultimate stain and odour remover, Jingos. My Jingos gunk gobblers will tackle stubborn organic stains and eliminate nasty stinking odours at the same time. Jingos effectively removes those little accidents like wine, coffee, dirt, blood, grass, even pet stains, and odours like fish, garlic, even skunk. Jingos is environmentally friendly, safe for use on fabrics, carpet, upholstery, and it works great as a laundry pre-soak on the worst pet or people accidents. Come on America, what are you waiting for? Just go online and order your Jingos for $12.95 and get a 4-ounce travel pack free. Crikey, pay $19.95 and I'll double your order. That's 2 large Jingos and 2 travel packs for just $19.95. Blasted seagulls, where's my Jingos?
We are back now, and the balance of today's program, I would like to deal with the messengers or the Jonahs that have brought warning to America over the past 60 years or so. This list is by no means comprehensive. Instead, I seek to survey those individuals and organizations that, in my opinion, have had the greatest influence in restoring America to its founding principles. The first Jonah that I would like to deal with is Robert Welch Jr. Robert Welch is the founder of the John Birch Society. In 1958, Mr. Welch developed an organizational infrastructure of JBS chapters nationwide. The John Birch Society is a conservative, educational, and advocacy group supporting anti-communism and limited government. Headquartered in Appleton, Wisconsin, under the leadership of its current president, Arthur Thompson, the John Birch Society owns American Opinion Publishing, which publishes the monthly magazine, The New American. In my view, the John Birch Society is the patriarchal organization of modern-day constitutional restoration movements in America. It is noteworthy that Fred Trump, father of President Trump, was an early supporter of Robert Welch and the John Birch Society. The second Jonah that I would like to highlight is Barry Goldwater. Barry Goldwater was an American politician and businessman who was a 5-term United States Senator from Arizona and the Republican Party's nominee for President of the United States in 1964. Despite losing that election in a landslide, Goldwater is the politician most often credited for sparking the resurgence of the American conservative political movement of the 1960s. Goldwater rejected the legacy of the New Deal and helped build a conservative coalition against the New Deal. A third person I would like to highlight is Phyllis Schlafly. Phyllis was a constitutional lawyer and conservative activist. In 1972, she founded what is now known as the Eagle Forum. The Eagle Forum is a conservative activist group in the United States and is a parent organization that also includes the Eagle Forum Education and Legal Defense Fund and the Eagle Forum PAC. She founded Eagle Forum in 1972 and remained its chairman and CEO until her death in September of 2016. The Eagle Forum has been primarily focused on social issues such as pro-life and pro-family issues and reports a membership of 80,000 citizens. This organization successfully led the fight against the ratification of the Equal Rights Amendment in the 1970s. Phyllis Schlafly endorsed Donald Trump and published her last book shortly before her death. The book is entitled The Conservative Case for Trump. The next well-known Jonah I would like to highlight is Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was an actor and politician who was the 40th President of the United States. Before his presidency, he was the governor of California from 1967 to 1975, after a career as a Hollywood actor and union leader. In 1964, Reagan's speech, A Time for Choosing, in support of Barry Goldwater's presidential campaign, earned him national attention as a new conservative spokesman. He ran unsuccessfully for the Republican nomination for the U.S. presidency in 1968 and 1976. 4 years later, he easily won the nomination and went on to overwhelmingly defeat incumbent Jimmy Carter in 1980. Entering the presidency in 1981, Reagan implemented sweeping new political and economic initiatives. His tax rate reduction and government regulatory relief spurred massive economic growth. Over 2 terms, his economic policies saw a reduction of inflation from 12.5% to 4.4% and produced an average annual growth of real gross domestic product of 3.4%. His robust foreign policy also resulted in the end of the Cold War and the subsequent fall of the Soviet Union. Many believe that the Reagan Revolution was the culmination of the conservative movement that began under Goldwater. The final Jonah that I would like to highlight is Ron Paul. Ron Paul is an author, physician, and former politician. He served as the U.S. Representative for Texas' 22nd Congressional District in 1976 through 77, 79 through 85, and 97 through 2013. On 3 occasions, he sought the presidency of the United States, as the Libertarian Party nominee in 1988, and as a candidate in the Republican primaries in 2008 and 2012. Dr. Paul is a critic of the federal government's fiscal policies especially the existence of the Federal Reserve, as well as the military-industrial complex that has spawned interventionist foreign wars. Dr. Paul also has been a vocal critic of mass surveillance policies, such as the Patriot Act and the NSA surveillance program. Known as Dr. No in Congress, Dr. Paul is the only member of Congress over the last 50 years to have a perfect voting record in terms of constitutional compliance. He is known as the intellectual godfather of the Tea Party movement, and many believe that the Ron Paul revolution of 2008 through 2012 set the stage for Trump's revolutionary victory in 2016. It is my view that these individuals and organizations, among others, laid the essential foundation of Americanism and constitutional government that the Trump revolution was built upon. Friends, that's all the time we have for today. Today we are offering my latest book entitled A Nineveh Moment. I just happen to have a copy with me. This 70-page book deals with many of the issues contained in this program. To obtain your copy, simply go to our website, www.swpm.us, and click on the featured product on our homepage. A Nineveh Moment is available for your gift of $5.49 plus shipping and handling. Again, A Nineveh Moment is available for your gift of $5.49 plus shipping and handling. This is your host, David Schnitker. Friends, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time for another Last Days Beacon program brought to you by Southwest Prophecy Ministries. Until our next program, keep occupying until He comes.